So in terms of mobility, the key thing is that I need oxygen on a supplemental basis all of the time. And you might not think so much about how much oxygen your body needs for different types of activities, but when you're so dependent on it, you become acutely aware of how different types of activities require very different levels of oxygen and energy to support. So, for example, sitting here, not talking, and watching television is a fairly low energy oxygen using activity. And it's really easy to manage oxygen needs, with a relatively moderate flow rate. So for example, if I'm sitting perfectly still, maybe 6-7 liters per minute is just fine. Okay. Now, if I'm sitting here talking to you like we're doing, now suddenly at 10 liters per minute, I'll find that after a while I'm short of breath. And that's because it takes more energy to talk than to just sit and watch TV. Now, if I get up to move, say, from here to the bedroom to go grab a book, that's significantly more exertion. And then the next level would be, surprisingly, taking a shower, for example, and getting dressed requires an awful lot of energy and effort and oxygen, and it's cumulative. And so where I am right now is I've got an oxygen, it's called a concentrator. It's this big machine that you plug into the wall, and it provides a constant stream of oxygen up to 10 liters per minute. And that's fine for something like what I'm doing right now. If I'm going to go move into the other room and take a shower, I'm going to switch over to my portable oxygen, which goes up to 15 liters per minute. And that extra 5 liters per minute makes a big difference at this point with my ability to support the higher level of work necessary to take a shower and change and shave and all the rest of that. And so my leaving the house at this point is really dependent upon the portable oxygen. And so, just like I discussed the different levels here, it's very much the case when I'm walking to and from the car. I need to have it up, 12, 15 liters per minute. Once I've settled down and my heart rate is down and I'm in the car, I can turn it back down, especially if I'm sitting perfectly still and not talking. And then once I get out, of course, I have to turn it back up. So this all seems pretty straightforward and simple. It's all in remembering to get it right every time. It's easy to forget, for example, when you've been at 7 liters per minute because you've been stationary, that you need to turn it up when you start walking. And it's easy enough to start walking at 7, and then it's really very quickly and painfully clear when that happens and you forget. So the key thing is just remembering to keep the oxygen adjusted. You could leave it at 15 all the time, but then you drain the cylinders extremely quickly. So that's really kind of what mobility is about. It's about managing your oxygen level based on what you need and trying to preserve the oxygen where you can.
Can you talk a little bit about how you monitor with your oximeter?
Sure. So my oximeter is this trusty, handy little device here. I keep it on a cord, either in my pocket wrapped around a belt loop or around my neck like it is now. And the oximeter is what it sounds like is oxygen, and meter is measuring, and it measures the oxygen in your blood. And it does that by a little sensor that reads through your finger. It doesn't hurt, doesn't prick it or do anything. It just shines a light through your finger, and it reads the amount of oxygen in your blood. 100 means you're 100% of where you should be. And then, my objective is to keep it above 90. So 90% or higher is good. Anything below 90% is bad. And right now I'm, for example, at 98% oxygen. So it's a pretty good number. Now, the second part is you can be at 98% oxygen, but be breathing really heavily to try to keep it at that level. So the other thing that's measured here is pulse rate. So right now I'm at 69 pulse rate beats per minute. And so this is really your key tool from an oxygen management perspective. Use this all the time, keep it with you all the time, and understand where you're at on your oxygen levels. The reason that it's so important to stay above 90 is that there's a lot of damage that can happen to your heart if the oxygen levels go too low. It creates a lot of stress on your heart. And that's especially important when you want to get a lung transplant. That heart connection and the good function of your heart is critical.